About to be live. Mhm. I'm gonna record it too. All right, I think we're live. Hey, everybody. Here we go. Okay, I was supposed to be putting it on. There we are. Hey, guys. I just want to make sure that we're live on Facebook. It's your girl, LaToya Riggins. You already know. If you're not a part of our group, the ECE Disruptors, then you need to be a part of it now because we're having so many juicy conversations with our very own Dr. Robert Gundling, keynote speaker, author, and 50 plus years of experience in the ECE field. So he is definitely a certified ECE disruptor. Dr. Gullen, I'm so excited to be here sitting with you because you are my Yoda in this business because you help me decode everything. I'm not one of those people that watch the news and everything, so I rely on you to kind of give me the updates. And I know last week we were talking about, what's happening in New Mexico. And then we got on the subject of universal childcare. And you said something about New York. They're trying to do that in New York. Can you tell me a little bit more? Like, what is that about? Like, how did they come up?
So, so the mayor-elect of New York, Mandani, has come out and said that he wants to lead New York City in creating universal childcare. That has implications for early childhood business owners and leaders in New York City. Uh,
So
from my experience, so I was uh, very much involved in the universal pre-K system that's now approximately 20 years old in Washington, D.C. How important it is to be at the table and in the discussions as the system is being created before it gets implemented into law.
so
It's not as easy as it sounds, because I believe in New Mexico, and as I mentioned, LaToya, I'm beginning to study what it is that they're actually implementing. That the savings goes to the families. So the state will most probably, or New York City, will set a rate, reimbursement rate to early childhood providers. And then there's also the question of, will there be qualifications required for a early childhood business to participate in the system? And my experience was the more I knew, the greater the probability that the outcome was going to be as good as it could get at that moment. But one thing that I think is exciting to me is that here's the second state, because DC actually does have in the law the eventual implementation of universal early childhood education. So the law was passed without the funding, but it exists, and the work that's involved is coming up with the funding um, for it. And New Mexico, to me, is the example of how it gets done, in that the governor made it one of her signature projects, and she created a cabinet level position for early childhood education. And that's, from my experience, that's the way it gets done. In DC, it was the mayor, the Honorable Vincent
oh my God.
Gray, former mayor of DC, was known across the country as the leading politician advocating and implementing innovative programs in early childhood education. So we've got some momentum beginning, but what's important to me is a commitment to stay in it for the long haul. We're a complex system and it doesn't get overhauled overnight into this wonderful panacea. But we're certainly much further along than I believe in any point in my career. As you know, I'm doing class observations in early childhood education um, programs in Virginia, where, again, an exciting development is that there's now a statewide advocacy or advisory committee um, in place. And in Virginia, any program that receives any type of government funding has to participate in these observations. Well, one of the things that I noticed quickly, because I'm aware of it, is because we don't have the funding, the full funding that I talk about in my first book, where you gave me the title, LaToya. Let's talk about the F word. Teachers, early childhood educators work very hard, but the resources and support aren't in place for them to be able to deliver the quality that they want.
Yeah.
And that's really where we are. So it's great to get excited, uh, but temper the excitement with reality.
Yeah.
Right now, if I were in New York City, I'd be doing everything that I possibly could to be engaged in. I assume the mayor has a transition team. So I'd want to find out. We had
The
that in
transition
DC.
team.
Well, what the mayor-elect will do is, well, in DC, what the mayor-elect does is between the time they've been elected and um, they actually begin to serve, they
Oh,
create a transition team to develop their agenda and to get them prepared. So on the first day when they're in office, they're ready to execute.
right. Okay. Hit
So
the ground running.
right, but you got to get yourself known and and what I found is important, getting known is not about, well, I got to get on that, get in the table to the table as soon as possible. It's about beginning to raise a voice.
Mhm.
Um, I haven't done if I were in New York City, I'd be really following the mayor elect and I'd be looking, does he have a website for his transition team? How do I get to him or the person who's navigating the team to become as engaged as possible? I mean, in DC, I made it to the point where I was invited to be in one of the focus groups convened by um, the transition team for the current mayor in DC, Muriel Bowser, during her first term. And then they take that under invite. So the people that are on the advisory committee are usually very high profile, politically engaged people, meaning some of them have gave a good amount of money to the person's campaign, and it's a way of um, rewarding them, I suppose, for that. But nonetheless, what we know is that in New Mexico it's being funded through taxes. And that's what was discussed in DC.
So I have a
Uh,
question. How do they come up with the rates? Like for, because this is universal, that means everybody's gonna get the same rate for every age group, no matter if it's family childcare center based, no matter what your business model is, it's all the same rate.
it depends where you are.
Well, how do they do it in
I
DC?
mean, it's been floated around to connect it to a tax credit to families. So New Mexico is saying that families in New Mexico are going to be able to save approximately $12,000 a year that they would have spent on early childhood education services. Um, how they get in, how? Yeah, there is no one way from what I know, LaToya. How they set the rate is how strong is the advocacy group? So, a member, for example, of our Facebook group, the Early Childhood Education Disruptors, um, in Maryland, leads the most influential advocacy group in Maryland. And I believe in her post, she mentioned that they've started that conversation in Maryland as well. So right now, these conversations are starting to percolate. They're starting to gain some traction because Maryland has a blueprint for early childhood education. Virginia has a comprehensive plan for implementing a high quality early childhood education system. So, as I mentioned, it's exciting, but it's also in its infancy state. Direct response to how do they determine the funding? So several years ago, the federal government shifted subsidy rates from market rate, where market rate was the agency responsible for early childhood education funding would survey all the early childhood businesses in the city, community, um, and ask for what's your market rate.
Mhm.
The federal government finally, um, memory serves me correctly, was during the Obama administration with Linda Smith, who set up the military early childhood education system, which is considered the best in the world because it's funded through the Department of Defense or Department of War. So it's funded like the military's funded,
Mhm.
and it operates like the military. So there's a lot of structure to it. You move through the positions just as in many ways similar to how somebody in the service goes from one rank to the next um, rank. And so they were able to shift from market rate to cost. Um, the what's it? The true cost for to do to run the business. Okay, yeah, and so how they do that now is that's in its development. DC actually started that process, and what you look at is um, what would it cost for a program to implement all the regulations that are required of them? And
Right, that's what
again,
I
it's
was
a
thinking.
cost estimate. That's it. You can do a cost estimate study that'll get you to the rate. And you keep doing it. I mean, in DC, I was actually on the committee that was responsible for initiating. DC was the first jurisdiction, actually ahead of the states, to implement this cost um, estimate study.
Cost estimates.
Um, and and so you start where you are, and then every year you learn something new and it gets refined and it gets improved. Um, and I think that's what was one of the major reasons universal pre-K took hold in DC, because Mayor Gray, well, he actually implemented it when he was the chair of city council.
Okay.
Um, and I was there when he announced, we're ready to pull the trigger. But before I pull the trigger, what I want to make everyone aware of, this isn't going to change overnight or in a year or probably 2 years. This will be we're estimating a 7-year journey.
It's okay.
Well, he became the mayor of the city, and 7 dropped down to, I think it was 3 or 4 years. And the system's been in effect, and today it's business as usual. And then it spilled over to the current uh, pay equity program, which has got some rough bumps that have happened. Um, but we have the beginning of success, because when Mayor Bowser initially implemented, so that was bonuses to all early childhood educators based on their qualifications. So we had people that got $20,000 bonus, and talk today, it changed their lives. They own a home today because with the bonus, they could afford to finance a home. That's what we want to see. And and so that's really what we're talking about. It takes time and it takes effort and engagement to be able to talk currently about what's being done.
Yeah. Well, that's why I'm excited about your book. And guys, I just put the link into the chat. So go ahead and, check it out, take a read, let us know your thoughts. And if you are in any of the states that we're talking about, like that actually have the conversation or are looking towards it, chime in and let us know what you think. Give us some of your 2 cents and read the book and let us know your favorite part and what really spoke to you and what are some thoughts you might have on how we can, go about making this even better. Because I'm excited when new things come up. So thank you so much for clearing those
Well,
things up. Because I don't, I'm not a news
and
person.
I like to emphasize, LaToya, I'm an early childhood leader whose work is as a practitioner. And I welcome feedback, with my belief that most books are written for practitioners, not by
That's
practitioners.
true.
And there's the disruption. Um, Individuals, close colleagues in my network who've read the book have said to me, Dr. Gundling, I love the book. It's like sitting with you and listening to you when we have a conversation. And uh, I mean, I talk about conscious capitalism, a worldwide movement that I believe is compatible with operating a vibrant, profitable early childhood education business. Making money is not a crime or a sin. It's the driver for the success of the business, married with a vision and a commitment, guiding principles, core values. And that's what conscious capitalism is about. You run your business with a conscience. Yeah. So
All right.
LaToya, I can go on about this stuff forever. But let me wrap it up by saying I did a wonderful um, feedback session with an early childhood educator where I did the fall class observation in her classroom, and I'm giving her feedback, and it was just so obvious to me. This young lady's a natural. She has the potential to go places, and it was though she responded to me like, "Well, like thank you. Oh my gosh, am I really that good?" See, as early childhood educators, um, we got to start believing more in ourselves, especially practitioners. We have to start believing in ourselves and claiming we're doing an outstanding job with the resources and support that we have.
Yeah, definitely. And you
Yeah.
definitely need that. So that's why I'm just thankful for you because you like you said, it's like a forest bias kind of thing. And not just, teaching or coaching. You're actually still boots on the ground, still working in the field and not listening, but keeping your ear to the streets, the pulse of the industry, and making sure you're a part of that disruption. So I'm excited.
Well, well, for me, LaToya, in my case, being a leader, I ate, slept, and drank this work. I don't turn it on and off.
Right.
It's constantly on my radar. I get email, I mean, I'm on email lists. Um, yeah, childcare aware and um, uh, the Bainham Family Foundation. I mean, there's a lot out there, but that's the challenge. A practitioner doesn't have the time to sit down for 2, 3 hours and read and become current, which is not necessarily what is required. It's getting engaged, it's getting involved.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Well, you heard it here first. Make sure you guys are following, not following, but join our Facebook group. That's the ECE Early Childhood Education Disruptors group, okay? So that we can go ahead and positively disrupt the industry and turn it into the positive side. All right?
And LaToya, I'm hoping we can do a conversation like this where it's um, you and I engaged in the area where I met you, workforce development, which is
Oh, yeah.
a significant challenge for people today.
Nice. I like that. I
Uh,
think that we should talk about that next week. That could be a nice topic.
sure. Well, and what I know is, and so we have the basic solution available to us. When I think about my first interaction with you, where I was looking to fill a administrative position in a large early childhood program, where I was a member of the leadership uh, team. Um, and what impressed me about you, LaToya, was the people you worked with who were TANF recipients, if I'm correct.
Hmm.
Um, they weren't just clients, they were people who mattered to you.
Yeah.
You were the first person in this workforce development space I remember who said to me, "Well, Dr. Gundling, I want to come out and see the program. I got to see it in operation. I got to talk to people. I got to understand what's needed, and then I'll match people."
Yeah.
And that's exactly what you did.
I sure did. That's how I met Cameron. Because he pretty much came and gave me the tour. And you're right. And that is the source when it comes to working with this industry that made me special because when I was into matching people with a career, it wasn't just about a job for me. Oh, you need a job, go here. And not just because that's how I handled everything that I did, but with childcare, like, ECE was special to me because not only was I a mom at the time when in my peak of my career, I grew up in family childcare, so I understood what it took to be there and the commitment and the heart you have to work with children. All the other stuff you can teach somebody, like, all of the 0 to 3 and development and that kind of stuff. But that heart for children and the protection and the love that you have to really have in your heart from day one, like you can't teach anybody that. That's what I looked for in people. Because I'm like, oh, I can send you to CDA school. I can send you to do that. I can get you the clearance. But what do you have inside here that you can give to these children? Because those are not just, oh, customers at the TJ Maxx. You know what I'm saying? They're important too. But I'm talking about when you're talking about our precious babies, this is our nation. This is our world. This is our future. It's it got to be special. And that's why I'm a person that goes off of the energy. I have to see what kind of environment it is. I gotta feel, I gotta smell it, and I gotta get that electricity from it. And I don't know, it was almost like spiritual. Like it came out so well that it had to be spiritual, you know? And I was looking for something, when I recruited, something special. That's
Well,
hard
to me,
because you don't get that
you,
a lot. So it can't be numbers if that's what you're looking for.
well, in my opinion, from experience, you embrace it's workforce development, not job placement.
Exactly. That's
And
exactly
most
what it is.
staffing places are job placement.
Yeah. Because that's all they're doing. They're just giving you a list of job openings and not really taking into consideration of one of the things that I was big on was a career path. And before a career path even started, what I did with my customers is let's talk about your natural gifts. Like you said about the woman that you did the observation in her business, and you said
Mhm.
she was a natural. That means that there's so many things she has that you don't have to teach her, that it's easy to teach her the few things that she may need to improve on certain things. So yeah.
And it's more coaching.
Yeah.
I can coach her because she's hungry to learn. When I finished the observation, he said, "Well, when are we going to have the feedback session? I want to know how I did." And to me, that transmits. Um, I want to get better. I want
Yeah.
feedback. I want to know how to where am I and how do I go to a next step of where I want to be, which is what we want to do with the young children in the program.
Yeah.
So, yeah. All right. Well, thanks. I mean, this
Well,
is
thank
always
you.
exciting.
Yeah, always exciting. So, guys, if you want to know more, definitely join the Facebook group. And I put the link to the book in there. Get on the book so that we can have more talks about it and you can chime in because you know what we're talking about. All right, guys, we're about to sign off. All right.